Hello, and welcome to our Dream Volunteer Training for Spring 2022. I'm Sam Horsch, and I'm excited to be with you today. I have the honor and privilege of being the Dream Volunteer Coordinator and also Dream's AmeriCorps Vista representative. I'm very involved here at Dream, and I'm very thankful to get this opportunity to guide you through what it's like being a volunteer here. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I will give you more contact information at the end of this presentation. But it's great to have you here whether you're attending in person or virtually. All right, so the goals of this orientation today are twofold. We want to make sure that you're ready to go for your first day working with DREAM, and we also want to connect you with other volunteers. If you're doing this one virtually, obviously that's not going to be quite as easy to do, but we will get you connected no matter what. We have some sections in this presentation where there are topics of conversation. If you would like, when we reach one of those, say this very next page here, you can take some time to either, if you're watching this with a group, talk about this amongst yourselves, or you can take time to just think it through. This first one, if you're by yourself, you're probably not going to answer, but I'll go ahead and answer on my side. So welcome to Dream. I'm going to go ahead and answer numbers 1, 2, and 3 here. So my name is Sam Horsch. As I just said, I'm the volunteer coordinator for Dream. And a fun fact about myself is that I sing opera. I haven't as much during COVID, but I'm trained in opera singing, and I do enjoy it. All right, so let's get a little bit into the layout of this orientation and get going with it. So we'll begin with a background of Dream, look into some important Dream staff, go through volunteer roles, interacting with Dreamers, then our volunteer rules, then we'll take a quick look at timecounts.org. Due to the nature of this recorded one, we won't get a word from your site coordinator, as you can see there. I'm ducking out of the way so you can read it. But you will get to know your site coordinator during this presentation. All right, so if you are by yourself or if you are with a group, you can feel free to pause the video at this point and ask yourself, what do I know about DREAM at this point? To begin talking about DREAM, I'd like to start with our change statement. In our change statement that we have on our online platform, we say we are driven to reach excellence in achievement, engagement, and behavioral health among boys and young men ages 5 through 24 years old. This is a really important way to look at DREAM because we are really looking at a large array in age there. One part that it doesn't say is that most of our students, most of our boys and young men are Black boys and young men, though we are adding a diversity, especially in the younger sides of the classes. And we now also have some gals that are part of DREAM. But throughout all of this, we are aiming for that excellence in achievement and engagement. Those are such important aspects of what we do at DREAM. Our mission, in order to get to that change statement, is to reach. We reach out to different community organizations, churches, students such as yourself, or families, maybe such as yourself, and many more groups to create a network of connection and support. We do this because we understand that the issues facing a lot of our students are not just one-off issues. They're not just this individual problem. They are something that is systemic, and we have to address it as a community. We have to build communities together. The second part of our mission is to teach. So DREAM works to teach life skills such as adaptability, collaboration, self-regulation, and belonging. We, of course, further function to enhance academic skills such as science, literacy, and math. The first part of this is just so important because we are here to teach social skills, social emotional learning. It's a big part of DREAM, and we want to make sure we're building friendships day by day. That's one thing we also want volunteers to make sure they understand as they're coming into DREAM. Beyond that, of course, we are working hard to make sure that the academic skills are being achieved so that our students are progressing and can get to the point where we can get them to the college of their dreams at some point. Then our third part is, of course, empower. And empower is DREAM acts to inspire students to take their learning out from the classroom and feel empowered to apply it to the world. We want our students to understand that their dreams really do matter, that their dreams will change this world. not the dreams somebody else has for them, their dreams. So we are working to empower them to feel agency and ownership over what they would like to do in this world and to create a pro-social change. In order to reach these missions, we have these goals. So of course, we're really looking to increase those literacy and math skills. We want to make sure that we're following along with the needs of academic learning, but we also are really working strongly to strengthen friendship, social skills. We want to make sure our students are coming out of this building connections with ourselves, with the volunteers, and with each other. We want to create this interconnected community. And then, of course, to increase leadership skills. If our students are going to go out into the world, make differences, and make a real change, they need to understand how to be leaders. And DREAM serves this purpose as well, to try and help them see what it means to be a leader. This is a quick look at our programs. Most of what you will be helping with is the Dream Big program. And the Dream Big program is really our after-school educational program. And it's got these 4 different sections: beginners, achievers, believers, and chasers. If you will be working at Uni Place Christian Church, you will be dealing with the younger end of the spectrum here with, of course, beginners, achievers, and into some of the believers there. And then if you're at First Presbyterian, you'll be working with the rest of the believers and into the chasers. I point this out just because it's good to know the terminology behind what we're doing, and also to show that within the groups that you're working in, if you're at Uni Place, there are different goals that have to be met by each of these groups. So just know that when staff asks you to do certain things, it's to achieve the needs of the programs for beginners or for achievers. That can change depending on what level our students are at. Now down here at the bottom, as I move my big head out of the way, you can see there's another program. It's called Hope for the Future. Hope for the Future is an upcoming program at DREAM, and we're really excited about it. It's going to be some real community engagement, trying to get out there to help families and children in our community with preventing joining gangs and with working on creating solutions for pro-social movement forward. There aren't any opportunities at this point to volunteer with Hope for the Future, but that will change within the next couple months, we're guessing. So I want to go ahead and put this on your radar that we have a program forming that will be out in the community and promises some very exciting new opportunities for volunteers. All right, I always love covering this section because I think it's just important that we have this mindset and intentionality when we come to DREAM. So why be a DREAM volunteer? A DREAM volunteer is much more than a helper. A DREAM volunteer is a role model with a voice to speak positive affirmations to our young students. They are the epitome of how a responsible individual expresses themselves and their emotions. So you might be coming to DREAM as a student trying to get some credits achieved, or perhaps just to get some community service hours taken up. But I want you to think as you enter into either Uni Place, First Presbyterian, or maybe you're going all the way to Rantoul, that I'm here as a role model. I'm here to express this epitome of responsibility and the professional expression of emotions, and to just be the change you want to see. Be that person that you want your dreamers to emulate. Every day, come in with this thought that I'm a role model and I'm here to make a change. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to come at it, and it's really important because these kids love interacting with us and love interacting with each person that comes through that door and get really close to them. So even if you're doing this just for a class, know that you are coming in to be a role model no matter what. Real quick, I'm going to talk about this strength-based education. In a strength-based education model, one takes the needs of the individual, so we look at each individual and say, okay, how can the student best learn? And working in collaboration and through affirmations with the students, you build up a platform for the student to learn from. This model believes that each student brings different talents, different skills, and ways of thinking, so we need to make a curriculum based around that idea. While DREAM subscribes to this, and this is how DREAM comes at everything, when it comes to educating our students, I need to make sure it's understood that DREAM, being a smallish group of staff, can't obviously create a curriculum for each and every student. But how I want you to think as a volunteer is through the strength-based educational process. When you see a student having difficulties, when you see something that needs correcting, think to yourself, what could the individual empathic solution be here? Take some time to really work on the affirmation and collaboration with each student and see what you can build up, because each of our students truly do have unique talents and ways of thinking, and we want to make sure we're building those up together. Right, these are the dream expectations we have for our dreamers. They're very good to keep in mind just as we're going forward so that you can think about what it is that dreamers owe every single time they come into class. So dreamers are leaders, are respectful, they work hard, use appropriate words, and are positive brothers. If dreamers are not fulfilling these expectations, please give them reminders of this. We want to do it in a kindly way, but we do want to remind them, hey, at Dream, we made these agreements to come here. So keep these in your mind and think through them every time you're with Dream. If you feel that one of your dreamers is not living up to them, you can always remind them, hey, remember, dreamers work hard, dreamers are respectful. And that helps. That helps. It reminds them what we're here to do, what we're here at Dream to achieve. So, if you would like to, take some time and ask yourself, what are your expectations for your time at Dream? You can even think through your hopes as well. Feel free to pause the video at this point. All right, let's go into our vital, important staff that you should really know before you come here to Dream. So this is Mr. Tracy Dace. He's the executive director of our Champaign programming and the founder of Dream. He started Dream over 6 years ago at this point. When we get to this July, it'll be 7. And he was attending the University of Illinois for a doctorate in education when he realized that a lot of the things he was studying just needed to happen now. And so he came into the community and began building Dream. In those early days, he had classes of about 6 or 7 students, and that was at just like one location. At this point, we've expanded to about 4 to 5 different sites, and we have 40 to 60 people in each location. So we've made some changes during this time and really grown a lot, and it's all thanks to Mr. Tracy's Dream. When you see him around the church, whether it be Uni Place or First Presbyterian, please take some time to say hi to him. He loves chatting with our volunteers and getting to know more about you. This is Mr. Sam Hall. Sam Hall is the executive director of our Rantoul programming, and he's built that program strongly over in that area. He has created a model of Dream partnering with a group called the Parent Mentorship Program. Parent Mentorship brings parents of the community into the school system so that they can get closer to their students and their children's cohort, and then also learn skills, professional skills especially, at the same time that they can use for later employment. It's a great program that involves a full community involvement. He operates out of First United Methodist Church in Rantoul. If you're working at Champaign, you probably won't see Sam that much, but when you do, please say hi. He also loves checking in with everybody. All right, so this is Miss Latondra Creighton. She is our site coordinator at Uni Place Christian Church. She's been with Dream for quite a while, the longest of any employee, I believe around 4 to 5 years at this point. So she knows a lot about Dream. And if you are over at Uni Place Christian Church, please do go to Miss Latondra. She is your main point of contact there, and she knows a lot about the program. She loves helping people figure out where they need to be, what they need to be doing. And as a reminder at this point, Uni Place, if you're choosing to go there, is where our younger students are. So Miss Latondra is responsible for our younger students. And then this is Mr. Andres Coleman. He's the site manager at First Presbyterian Church of Champaign. That is, of course, where our older students are, middle school through high school. Mr. Andreas this semester will be joined as well by Miss Madison Boyce. I do not have a picture of her in this, but she is a great point of contact along with Mr. Andreas. Mr. Andreas has done some wonderful things with our DREAM students, including building a wonderful basketball program that keeps kids involved throughout weekends and is just a really great resource and great human being. He always loves to help our volunteers over at First Presbyterian figure out the right places for them. So if you have any questions, always feel free to ask Mr. Andreas if you're around First Presbyterian Church. Now let's look a bit at the volunteer roles at DREAM. This is an area that's changed a little bit from last semester and one that will be different going forward, and I'm very excited about it. So we have always had program assistants and tutors. Those are kind of the bread and butter of DREAM. We'll talk about them in just a second. We are adding now specialists and team members. So we'll get to talking about all four of these roles here in just a moment. So our program assistants, of course, work directly with students and staff to ensure program goals are met. The tasks of a program assistant may include, but are not limited to, shepherding trials between classrooms, setting up for events or program changes, playing games with students, reading with students. The list goes on. I mean, program assistants can often end up being tutors for a bit. They can end up doing pretty much anything. We mostly use program assistants over at Uni Place Christian Church because for our younger kids, we need more flexibility in how the day goes. So just be aware that if you're a program assistant, you will be needed to have some flexibility in what that role means. Now, a main function of the program assistant is that program assistants listen and learn to the needs and from the needs of DREAM staff. So program assistants are here to make sure that the programming in a day happens. That means you need to listen to staff, understand what they want, and implement what they want. But it also means that you should take some time to try and learn from what staff is asking for, because that way you can be proactive in the future. So if you're with us for some time and you figure out some things with staff that, okay, this needs to be in this place at this time, instead of continually asking staff about it, you can feel free to have ownership and to go for it. But please make sure that any proactivity is informed by the needs of staff. All right, so tutors. Tutors are the other big part that we've had volunteers do for a long time now. So, of course, tutors work directly with Dreamers to ensure that their homework is being completed on time and well. It's worth noting that the goal of DREAM is to make sure that students leave the halls of DREAM with homework completed. This is because we're not sure what their home situation might be like. We need to make sure that everything is good to go as soon as they are out of DREAM. However, I do want to add that we want to make sure that this is quality homework completion. We must take care with our guidance and hold our dreamers to task. We can't just be about 100% completion without the quality following. So please make sure, please make sure that your students are working through things in a timely fashion, but also in a quality fashion. All right, this is one of our new areas, specialists. Specialists are a group that we're adding and one that will probably start to take off really around summer, but I want to hear from people now. Specialists will be working with me, the volunteer coordinator, to develop a curriculum for our dreamers. It can be any sort of curriculum. We've had people come in and teach leadership. We've had people teach karate. We've had people teach robotics. We just need people who are willing to develop some sort of curriculum in coordination with me that we can implement at DREAM. So a specialist will apply online at time counts through a special portal there. I'll show you in just a bit. And the specialists and volunteer coordinators will then work together and make sure the curricula is ready for our students. So all of this will be very easy to complete. It just requires that you have a passion, something you've learned, something you're interested in, that you're willing to develop a plan around, and then you and I will develop the plan and we will find staff that can come along and make sure that this plan comes to fruition. And one thing I like to stress is this curriculum can be a day, it can be a couple days, it can be a week. There doesn't need to be a real time limit on it. We just want to see what people would like to teach our dreamers. All right, so this is our last new volunteer role. So this semester and going forward, I'm going to be developing teams with DREAM to support volunteer functions. As I mentioned earlier, DREAM has really expanded in recent years, but we need to make sure that our volunteer section is also really expanding. We have a lot of interest from amazing volunteers, and we also need to make sure that we're finding new volunteers. So I want to make sure that there's great support for this great core of volunteers and for the potential volunteers that could come. This is why I will be focusing on four main teams. The first will be outreach, of course. Outreach, just figuring out, okay, where do we need to be looking for volunteers? How do we reach those volunteers? What sort of advertising? Through what mediums? If you have any interest in helping me with outreach and looking into bringing DREAM to more people, let's talk about outreach. Training is of course kind of in this vein. Training is making sure that students and all our volunteers, we have a lot of volunteers that aren't students, are properly trained to work with our students, our dreamers. And therefore, we're going to be putting in some new trainings to help with issues such as socio-emotional learning, and many more areas besides, anti-racism being one. If you have an interest in helping me build this training area, this training program, I'd love to hear from you. Party planning, and I would put like a backslash on that and put like employee retention, volunteer retention. Party planning is going to be a really fun one. We're going to hopefully have a couple social events every month going forward, where we have like pizza parties or some sort of ice cream social. I guess I'm fairly food focused, but some sort of social that involves both volunteers and dreamers, and also I would say probably staff as well. So if you ever have an interest in party planning or just in outreach to the people that are already part of Dream, this would be a great place for you. And then administrative, this is for anything behind the scenes, like recording this video or working on timecounts.org, our main platform. If you have any interest in any of that, please talk to me and let's get you, we can get working in these areas. The nice thing with these team member areas is that these are great areas for, say, if you have a semester where you're hoping to do either learn something different than childcare or just connect with Dream in a different way. This is a great way to get involved with us. All right, so this section is on interacting with dreamers. For the most part, this section is scenarios that then lead into answers. Because y'all are watching this virtually at a later time, I'm not going to pause too long on the questions, but we will address the questions and move on from there. All right, so in this situation, a student asks you if they can use the restroom. What should you do? The answer here is to use some context clues. I say this because we need to know what's happening around the student asking to use the restroom. So to begin with, no student should be wandering any premises, whether it be First Presbyterian or Uni Place, without adult supervision. These are not Dream properties. We can't guarantee the safety of the halls themselves. So we need to make sure that our students always have some form of adult supervision. Now, if a dreamer asks you to use the restroom, you need to keep that in mind that they can't go out into the hallways by themselves. But you also need to think to yourself, okay, I just got here maybe, or I've been here for an hour. How many times has the student asked to use the restroom before? Is this a trend? Is it okay for students right now to use the restroom? So the number one step you need to take is notify Dream staff in the room. They should be nearby you, and you should be able to ask them very quickly. They can let you know then, hey, they've asked to use the bathroom 4 times already. This is starting to seem like something that they're a way they're using to get out of work. If that happens, then maybe find a way to work with the student to say, hey, let's work on things a little bit further, and then maybe you can use the restroom. Now, if you notify Dream staff and they say it's okay for them to use the restroom, but they cannot accompany the student, it's up to you to be the hero here and to walk with the student to their destination. By destination, I don't mean the bathroom itself, but I do mean into the hallway. Make sure that you go into the hallway, that the student gets to the restroom, and then wait there for the student to return. When they return, you will walk with them back into the room that you were working on things, working to either tutor them or on programmatic activities. For the most part, Dream staff will be available to do these sorts of things, but if they're not, please just be willing to accompany our students through the hallways and then back into class when it's time to go back. All right, our next scenario. A student is disrupting class with yelling and running around. What should you do? The answer here is to support staff. What I've just said there, the scenario I've just given you is an example of this number 2 here, major behaviors. Major behaviors are when anything, any action of a student is affecting the attention, the ability to focus, the mood of the other students around them. In a case where a student is running around, yelling, causing a distraction, that's a major behavior. Therefore, in major behaviors, we do have to remember this line that I have at the bottom. At DREAM, we're not here to be disciplinarians as volunteers, but we are here to hold students accountable. So I would recommend, in this case, calmly approaching the student, talking to them like, hey, what's going on? Try to get a feel on what's happening with the student at the moment. And then if that's not working, making sure that staff know, okay, the student is still creating havoc. And staff will make the disciplinary decision, the decision to intercede at that point. Whether that means taking the student out into the hallway, whether that means pulling them into a side of the classroom to talk to them and try to quiet them down, that's on staff to decide. You just need to be there to support and to be calm and to just try and redirect the student if possible. Now, I do want to draw your attention real quick to this third behavior, aggressive behavior. Aggressive behavior comes in a couple of different forms. The first being if you're feeling threatened by a student, and of course in that situation, if you're feeling threatened by a student, make sure staff know immediately and remain calm as you withdraw from the situation. But aggressive behavior can also be aggressive behavior between two students, a fight kind of in the works. If you see that happening, that really does need to be brought up to staff as much as possible and as soon as possible so that staff can take both students and have them sit down and have a talk about what they're feeling. We will work hard to make sure that if aggressive behaviors are exhibiting themselves between two students, that they understand that this cannot continue because we are here to build friendships with one another. We're here to build community. So it's really important to be on the lookout for that. Now for the number 1 there, minor behaviors, let's look at this next slide to get a feel for what we should do with minor behaviors. So a student is not paying attention to you or staff as you try to read with them. What should you do? Well, this is an example of a minor behavior, and in any sort of minor behavior, we really need to work on our redirections. So as mentioned before, we're not here to discipline, but we are here to build solutions and hold dreamers accountable. So we need to look at this in a pro-social way. We need to be like, we should not be yelling, why aren't you focusing? Arr. We need to be thinking to ourselves, okay, where can I turn this energy that either they're experiencing or where can I turn this lack of energy? So remind the student those expectations I said before, we're at DREAM to live up to these expectations, to work hard, to be positive brothers, to do all these different things. Then remind yourself as well to lead with empathy. A lot of these students, in fact, all of them, will have just finished school by the time they're getting to DREAM. So they'll be tired or wanting to work out some energy. So there are some reasons why they might not be focusing on that day. Allow them the grace to not be focused, but then take some time to brainstorm, okay, so what is the problem here? Is it that they're tired from the school day? Are they just not feeling like focusing? What does this lack of engagement say to you? And can you see a cause for this behavior? And from there, can you build a redirection, something else to get them involved? Sometimes students aren't feeling their math homework, but they are really feeling some sort of art. So if you start working with them on art, they might find a way to connect back into our programming and get really involved. It's fun to figure out some of these redirections, and with time, I think you will see that you can figure out a lot of different ones. Another thing to keep in mind when working with a minor behavior or even a major behavior and working on redirections is that if you don't have knowledge of the child, please, please, please feel comfortable to ask staff for help. They might be the ones who are able to open the door for you and help you to see, okay, this is something that the kid really likes. Let's connect you into that. So please, if you're having troubles connecting with one of the children, take some time to ask staff and they might be able to open the door for you. All right, our next scenario is a kindergartner is trying to climb on you and you don't want that. What should you do? In this, we need to always remember to remain calm and to assert some form of kindly authority. So when we're dealing especially with younger kids, there's a lot of energy. There is a lot of energy. And it's a lot of excitement. They're excited to see you. They're excited to be at school. They're excited for a lot of different things. So let's take some time to just center ourselves, to breathe and find calm. Remember that in this case, you've got this kindergartner on your arm now, he's climbing up higher. That overreacting, tossing the kindergartner, is not going to be the right solution, or yelling at them is not going to be the right solution. That's just going to amp up the energy in an unhealthy way. So we need to think, while we be calm, of some redirections that can turn that energy towards something else. We want to turn that energy towards a different activity. Maybe that's a sign that they need to be running around outside or up in the gym at First Presbyterian. There are lots of options for what this means. It doesn't mean that while we have to maintain calm and assert kindly authority, that we can't say, hey, I don't want you climbing on me. It just means that we need to find a way to suggest some sort of redirection to move forward. All right, this is our last scenario. A student is doing really well on their homework and is engaged in programs. What should you do? The answer here is to take some time to affirm them. We really, really, really want to stress that we are here at DREAAM not just to hold students accountable, but to praise them, to be thankful for them, to affirm what their dreams are. So when a dreamer is focused and doing well with programming, take some time to reward that behavior. Or even if this is a student that you've worked with before and you know that they often have problems concentrating and maybe they're just doing a bit of a better job concentrating that day. That's great. Take some time to affirm that. We really want to build these students up as much as possible. So share some compliments with them. Share as many compliments with them as you can, and give them rewards when they are when appropriate. For instance, with younger kids, we often do different art projects, and they really get a kick out of getting the art project that you've been working on with them. That's a wonderful reward, and it reminds them and affirms that, wow, it was really fun doing this project. So please remember that we are here to build up these students as much as anything else. We are here to build them up and to make sure that their dreams become a reality. We're here to listen to them. We're here to be with them. We're here to make sure that they're being heard. And that involves a lot of affirmations. So the affirmations are just as important as any of the other parts that I just said, if not more important. Now let's look through some rules, some volunteer rules for you. So our expectations for volunteers are pretty simple. Be on time when you've gotten your time figured out with me and your orientation. Make sure to stick to that time. Be ready to interact. When you walk through the doors of DREAAM, let's be ready to go with the kids. Let's be ready to join in with wherever staff needs us to be. That will make sure that we use this time in the best way we can. Be positive and respectful, no matter what happened to you earlier in the day, who's yelled at you, what teachers said to you. Let's come into DREAAM with positivity and respect. We want that to be how we present ourselves to our students. If the dreamers mirror it back to us, that's wonderful. If they don't, we still want to remain positive and respectful in the hopes that they will learn from our example. be confidential. We want to remember that the privacy of these children is very important. It's important to them, it's important to their family. So please, let's just keep dream stories to dream, and let's make sure that we're not taking pictures or sharing anything on social media. That it's important to respect the needs of our students with privacy. And then be proactive. Again, we're here to listen to Dream staff. We're here to make sure that programming happens, but that doesn't mean we're not here to be proactive, to problem solve, to critical think. We're still here to do those things as we think about what is needed by staff. So take some time as you come to Dream to think about where you can be proactive. Cell phones, this semester we're really going to ask that there are no cell phones while working with or around students. We want to make sure that students, even when you're not directly working with a student, remain your number one priority, that you're focused on where they are, what they're doing, and that you're really engaged. If you are like walking to the bathroom or getting a drink, of course you can be on your cell phone at that point. Photos. It's important to remember that photos of dreamers and their families and or dream staff may not be shared without the consent of dream management. It's best to err on the side of caution and just not take any photos. However, if you are at like a special event and you are asked to take some pics and you get a sick pic, please do send that to me or share it with one of the coordinators that I mentioned in the first part of this before you share it anywhere else. We do have the ability to check through, make sure that parents have given permission, and then post that to Dream's Facebook page and let you know if that's an okay picture to share. But if you share pictures without the consent of Dream families or staff, you will be asked to not continue with volunteering. So please, let's just avoid that and make sure that if photos do happen, that you take time to get them approved by either myself or the volunteer coordinators. Dress code. Okay, so remember, we are trying to come across as professionals here. We want to therefore keep in mind that we're thinking business casual more than casual, though that doesn't mean a button-up shirt. What I'm wearing here, that's perfectly fine. It just needs to be stuff that are clothes that are covering, clothes that are clean, and clothes that are without rips and tears on them. As it says in the bottom, I gotta move my head again here. If you wouldn't wear it to a professional day of teaching, please don't wear it at Dream. Do think about Dream. Again, you're here as role models. You're here to demonstrate the professional lifestyle. So please do think about, what you want to look like as you do this teaching and do this volunteering. Boundaries, as always, when working with children, boundaries are really important to establish, and especially with young children. Young children love hugs, physical contact, and that's not necessarily a terrible thing. But let's figure out ways that are more professional to get at this sort of physical contact. So, like for instance, with a young child, if they are running up to you to do a front hug, let's consider turning that energy to a side hug. And that can just be a little degree of separation, but while still affirming them in a physical way. This is also a great time to help students figure out lessons about bodily autonomy, about the right to say no to physicality. It's a great time to just really reinforce some of these lessons that you need to be enforced in a professional setting. And again, throughout all of this, a great boundary to set between what's happening and you is just to remain calm and to maintain a position of kind authority. We are here to be like teachers, to be like caretakers for these students. So remember that that's your role and live into that role. You're not here to be big brother, big sister. You are here to be a teacher. You are here to lead with kind authority. And then, of course, try not to be alone with any of the dreamers. In any situation, you should have staff nearby, and it's actually good to know, and I hope that you will let me know if you end up in a situation where there isn't staff around, because that's just important to know. We need to make sure that there are staff in all the areas that our dreamers will be going to. All right, names and name tags. It's really important that we take time to learn student names, especially if we're interacting with them a lot. It's just a sign of respect. Like I mentioned earlier, we're here to be respectful. And they really love it when we, can say their names and call them by those names. And then they also really love to call us by our names. So to that end, I've got name tags for this semester. If you come in, please make sure you're always wearing a name tag when you're interacting with students and in between. That's really important for both the dreamers and for our staff because our staff also want to call you by the right name. So make sure that you always have your name tag on you when you come into whatever building you're working at. They will be at the front desk where you will sign in. Um, and when you're done with your day, you will take them back to the front desk and leave them there. All right, incident reporting. It's important to remember that in any situation, whether it be an accident or an incident, so incident being something meaningful, like Jim pushes John down a slide because he's angry with him. Accident being something that is not unintended. So Jim pushes John down the slide because Jim was really excited to go down and just forgot John was up there. That's more of an accident. Um, no matter what, we need to be reporting these things. And incident reports can be found with any of your site coordinators. Incident reports are only used saying, this is what I saw, this is what happened, and then that's all you need to submit. You don't need to speculate on the feelings of the students. You don't need to add any other details other than what you saw to an incident or accident report. Now, if you feel like you want to report something but are not sure if it qualifies as an accident or incident, I do have a volunteer report form on timecounts.org. I'll show you that in just a second here too. And you can always use that form to get in contact with me. If you want that to remain anonymous, it can totally remain anonymous. But I would love it if you use that form to share anything that it concerns you or anything that you're really happy with. This form is a great way just to reach out to DREAAM staff and let us know what's going on, both the good and the bad. Injuries. So should a child suffer an injury while you're around, you of course need to inform staff immediately. You need to make sure that you're with the child and making sure they're all right. If this injury is life-threatening, staff will be the ones to call the ambulance. You should not call the ambulance. We have our dreamers fill out what hospitals they can go to where they're covered. The sad state with American healthcare is that it's really important that we call the right hospital to help out with our dreamers. And so staff will make that call. Of course, if you are in a situation where it's just you and you can't find staff, which that should never, ever, ever happen, but if it does happen, we need to protect the life of the kid first, so we will need to call an ambulance no matter what. But if things are working as they should be, let staff call for the ambulance. Now, in the case of a minor injury, staff has first aid kits, so they can make sure that they're patched up and ready to go. Regardless of the level of injury, an incident report does need to be filed at the end of it. All right, mandatory reporting. If you believe a child has been abused in any way, you are required to report that to DREAAM staff immediately. We take the safety of our students to be very, very, very seriously. So if you are concerned about something a child said to you, or are just worried about anything to do with one of the children, please do report that immediately. That's all you have to do. We'll take it from there. We'll do the investigative work and the working with the family and making sure that things are all right for the child. But do know that if you're concerned, we want to hear about it. All right, another new thing to this semester is that there will be further trainings after this orientation. This is your orientation session and it offers the chance to begin working with DREAAM, but we are going to have some more trainings, probably mixed with social events before the end of the semester. I'm hoping all volunteers can make it to at least 2, and to that end, I will be offering at least 2 training sessions a month. And so that just means that you could do one in February and one in April if you want, and you would make that qualification. If you want to come to all of them, that's also very welcome. All right, so if you were here in person, we would go ahead and figure out your name tags. and then the hours you can volunteer. As you aren't doing this in person, I will need you to submit that to me online through your, probably through the leadership of your RSO, or reaching out to me at my samhorsch@dream.org email account. We're going to go ahead and move on to show you a little bit of time counts just so you can familiarize yourself with it. And then we should be pretty much done with this orientation. All right, so give me just a second while I load up time counts, and we'll talk about it for just a bit. All right, so this is our time counts page. Every time you log in, it should take you right to this hub where you are able to view a wide array of things for DREAAM. So I'm going to scroll down to this middle bar here and click over to Home. This is a really important page for you as a volunteer. So at home, you will have the total amount of activities that you have volunteered at and the total number of hours credited. It's important to keep those in mind as I will be giving you the hours credited. And if you think that I haven't credited you for an hour, then you can come over here to volunteer time and click this log time button. Once you click log time, you will have everything set before you that you need and can set very specific time limits on when you were working and tell me what you did. We're going to be logging time through Google Forms still for a bit this semester. Google Forms is very easy, and I will have a clock in spreadsheet on one Chromebook at the front desk of whatever place you're working at, and I will have a clock out spreadsheet on the other Chromebook that's up at that desk. So please do use those. I can't give you hours unless you clock in and clock out using those computers. And then finally, we've got resources here. Right now, I have up our resources for the schedules for our 2 Champaign locations. These will, of course, change as I add more people to them. So you can take a gander at them now and see what we've got going on. But with time, there will be more aspects to it. So these are all just important for keeping track of your time and having resources to access should you need anything. Now in this About tab, the second tab, we have some buttons that link us to some areas of DREAAM that I want to call your attention to. This Dream With Us button is where you will click if you want to be a specialist or join a team. It takes you right to the forum and you can talk about what you'd like to do with us either through teams or through specializing. Volunteer, you don't need to worry about that. If you're doing this orientation, you've already clicked some form of volunteer button. Donations, this is mostly for our Hope for the Future program I talked about. If you want to give towards that, more power to you. But if you want to learn more as well, this is a good button to click to see what Hope for the Future is about. Get in touch, this is that report form I was talking about. This is it's confidential and you can tell me anything good or bad and it will get to the right places. And then this is our Find and View events. If you click it, it will take you to our events and opportunities page, or you can just click it right here. This opportunities page will take you to it as well. Currently in Events World, we have different trainings coming up. If you have not signed up for a training, which would be weird since you're taking this training, this is where you would go. We will eventually have other opportunities such as our new anti-racism trainings, our social emotional learning trainings, and many more up here. So do be on the lookout always on this opportunities page for what's going on at DREAAM. This is our FAQ section. It's where, our frequently asked questions come. If there's a question you don't see reflected here that you have, please ask it and we'll get it on the list. At any time, if you need to get in touch with me, you can scroll right down to this Contact Us button. That will lead you to me. This is my email, so keep that in mind. This is my phone number. You can text it or call it, and you will get right to me. And then these are DREAAM's social medias and their website. If you want to look at anything about DREAAM, you have access to it here. If you want to get in touch with me as well, you can go over to this message button right here and send me an email on the Time Counts platform. That works just as well. So actually, I'm going to leave the screen right here. So you can pause it here if you need to take down note of any of the contact information or anything that I've said. I'm very thankful to have you all with us this semester. It's really going to be a great semester for volunteering with DREAAM. We're building some truly incredible new programs to bring to our students and to just help as this program, this DREAAM program itself, is expanding at such a rate. We're still a youngish program at only 6 years, but we have really expanded, and we wouldn't have been able to do any of this without volunteers such as yourself. We wouldn't have been able to reach so many of these children, and we are truly just so thankful for you for taking the time to be a part of our community and to join with us in being present and building community with these kids and their families. So if you ever have any questions, again, reach out to me, Sam Horsch, at any of these links, and I will make sure that your questions are answered. And I look forward to getting to meet you and getting to know you at DREAAM. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.